Solid.
Peace and blessings, Brother Jeannie. How you doing?
Hey, brother, I'm doing fantastic.
Brother, we have to let Dr. Khallid in. So my vote, I know you got a long line of people, but we have to let Dr. Khallid in. I want to say just a couple of things. And I always look at these people, our martyrs, our brothers that are in front of us, as fighters. Dr. Khallid, as Brother David was talking, he was right on point. He was what you call a brotherly brother, meaning that there are a lot of people who can do lectures really well, but men, when you finish the lecture, that's when you really reach them more than you do when you're just on the rostrum teaching. And so when Dr. Khallid would come to Louisiana, number one, I just got out the military when I met him, and this was 1991. He immediately took us all out to dinner. Again, he told me what suit to wear and how to dress. I didn't know. And he told me he was going to debate this cracker in the great debate on is Jesus black or white. I had already told him that I grew up in the church. And he said, I need to come down there and watch him debate this snuff-dipping, overall-wearing, tobacco-chewing cracker. So I did. It changed my life completely. That was one of the greatest debates. It's called a great debate. In the end, the devil just ran out. Can you hear me, brother?
Yes, sir.
So he was a real brotherly brother. I didn't know if you mentioned it. I was listening, but he was also, for years, on the most dangerous man list in California. They had him on that list. And, oh, man, I ain't going to get into all of that, but he did a lot out there, and California's mosque, number 27, was considered the Nation of Islam's West Point. And actually, when we first got started, a lot of people would go out there to learn how to drill and learn how to soldier because of the mosque that Brother Khallid built on Crenshaw Boulevard. Incredible, Dr. Khallid also went to jail in Atlanta. I don't know if you mentioned that before. But they had over 100 FBI agents that came to arrest him when they came to get him. And he literally, because of the way he would do it, punked them because he would have got big time, but he made them give the briefcase back to one of the FOI, and he gave it to them, and they had basically a flimsy case, so he wound up going to jail for a little while, but didn't stay as long as he could have. Another point is, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad had a Rolls Royce. And he would drive in his Rolls Royce sometimes to some of the worst neighborhoods, get out of his Rolls Royce, get on the curb with the people who are considered poor and crackheads, people that other people would just walk by. He would put them in his Rolls Royce, take them out to Hollywood, get with Eddie Murphy and other stars, and make them buy them suits and shoes or give them their old suits and shoes and stuff like that. And before you know it, Brother Khallid, by God's permission, would clean these people up. And the next thing you know, he would have them on post. A lot of people may not know that. And he'd clean them up. Not only that, at one point, when the killing was really bad in California, Dr. Khallid was the only person who could go bury the Crips and the Bloods. He would bury both sides and help to negotiate the first peace truce they had. I'm talking about before the gang summit in 1994, the first truce they had. Man, I could be on here all night talking about my experiences, but what Brother David said really touched something in me, because when you join a new organization, you don't need a person in front of you, or a captain or a lieutenant or even a minister in front of you who can only lecture over the roster. They have to have what I talked with you about, a ground game, to where they know how to build men up or build women up. That was one of his greatest gifts. He knew how to separate just teaching over the rostrum and know how to go to the ground, move among people, and train men quickly. I don't want to be on here all night, but I would like to point out, because we're talking about a fighter, what I feel was one of his weaknesses. and you mentioned the N-word, but one of his weaknesses to me was he loved black people so much he didn't know how to pace. When you're teaching and dealing with black people, you're dealing with a real heavy load, which means that you have to take time for yourself to manage your health, to manage your life, and you can't just stay out and go, and keep coming forward and never take a breath to rest and kind of rejuvenate for yourself. And that's for all of us who are in the movement. And we don't want no lazy people around in the movement. We're trying to resurrect the dead. But when it comes to time to where you can at least take a breath for Brother Jeannie or Sister Shabazz or Brother David or Body Shot or whoever it is, you need that time not to quit, but to just rejuvenate. And Dr. Khallid, you know, when you're traveling all across the country, debating people, and you're doing it without notes, which means that you're not a throat talker, you're talking out of the gut of your being and your system. It's very exhausting, and you need proper rest so that you can rejuvenate as best you can in order to keep this going. Everybody, particularly those members who are in the Nation of Islam, should salute Brother Khallid, and we do, because Dr. Khallid never committed treason. Never. He never done anything, and I got people who were with him when he was with the Brother David Muhammad, the Brother David who's in Louisiana, actually was with him in Dallas because he's from Dallas when he put the new Black Panther Party together. And that man stuck to the principal issues of resurrecting black people rather than I don't like this, I don't like that. That wasn't his convo. So definitely we got to have Dr. Khallid in there, brother.
Would you say, because you knew Brother Dr. Khallid, and you a studier of fighters and you study the fight, would you say that some of the errors that our brother Malcolm, who did not have the same type of exact kind of history in front of him that Brother Khallid had, which was Brother Malcolm, would you say that in some way Dr. Khallid righted the errors that Brother Malcolm made by not making the same mistakes that Brother Malcolm made, thus showing us how to do it in a better way if we have a breakup in a Black power, Black infrastructure, organizational breakup?
Hands down, with flying colors. You know, for you to move away from a man or a woman or whoever it is you've grown to have a disagreement with. And they got women who divorce men, and they talk about the father so bad until the father can't ever build a relationship with the other children, and vice versa. When you leave organizations, sometimes we outgrow the methodology of the organization. Well, how do you get out of it? Well, Dr. Khallid showed us how we could get out of it, and not as much as it was no violence between us. And this was a hot-button issue on both sides, and I commend both because it was no violence between us. But the only thing that I really am still hurt by and really disappointed in is that when you go to build a new organization, people sometimes don't know your value, and they carelessly allow you to do things or to be around people who are not knowledgeable of security. And I'll never believe that Dr. Khallid just passed because of what they said. I know this enemy enough, and it's a point that all of us who love Dr. Khallid should always remember, and it applies to Malcolm and even applies to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. At the time of Dr. Khallid's passing, if you go and look on the ADL's record, the Anti-Defamation League, the number one anti-Semite in the country was Dr. Khallid. If you go and look when Malcolm passed, the number one anti-Semite was Malcolm X. So it seems to be a pattern that at a certain point in all of our organizations, and maybe we should be on the guard right now, let it be known that Dr. Khallid mentored all of the conscious hip-hop people. Professor Griff, mentored by Dr. Khallid, Tupac to a large extent, Ice Cube when he wrote that, Chuck D, all of them mentored by members of the Nation of Islam, but in particular, Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad.
That is true.
And if you notice, they are so slick and skillful at separating black organizations. And once they separate you, they move in to weaken your position. They've done it. This is the pattern of these people. And I would hope that those who really love Dr. Khallid, really love Malcolm X, really love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and Minister Farrakhan would recognize that we can't even have peace among ourselves until we destroy their influence. They were influential in taking out full-page ads and breaking up the unity of our brotherhood. There's no brother who's going to like a minister Long who just teaches over the rostrum, and he don't have good interaction, particularly with men. That is a gap that is created. And brother really filled it well, because when he would come to your city, and this is what I'm saying about the man didn't pace himself as a fighter, he would keep you out. Dr. Khallid would keep you out all night teaching and talking, but it would be talk about the movement. It wouldn't be no Negro gossip talk. One time we were in a Cadillac at Southern University, and somehow the driver is wet down in Louisiana. Louisiana is beneath sea level, and he got in a mud hole and stopped the car. Dr. Khallid jumped out the car with other brothers there. He wasn't somebody who wants you to push him around. He got in the thing, we're going to push the car himself. We had to tell him to get back in the car. It was a security breach. But he wants to be with the men. That's the way he was, and that's the stuff that we'll never forget. And let me tell you, I know I keep saying I'm going to stop. But when you're a man and you're brave, you love brave men. I was so shocked to see Dr. Khallid wasn't calling white people crackers behind their back or devils behind their back. This is the way he was talking in their face, like the Jew you heard him debate. He wasn't changing nothing on what he said. He was saying what he said. You know? So that's another thing that attracts men and holds men's attention. So, yeah, Brother Jeannie, you got to put this brother in, you know?
That's appreciated that. And I'm glad you shared some of those personal stories, because it's always good when we're talking about great people to be able to talk to someone who is great themselves, who can, on a very intimate and personal level, detail to us how and why we love someone of greatness and how a person is perceived and seen as great. And you, having been personally acquaintance of Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad on security detail, and him having influenced you in the nation, and you still being in the nation and demonstrating love, and I think it means a lot to a lot of people out there listening to be able to hear that people that knew him and worked with him and fought with him still love him, you know?
That's right. And that's from the heart, too, brother. All right, soldier. Peace. Keep soldiers.
All right. We appreciate it. We love you. We'll see you on the battlefield.
Yes, sir. Peace.